to Coffee with MBA and Beyond. Today we are hosting our workshop on Tuck, Stern, and Yale's essays, quite typical essays over here. And I'm just a quick introduction. Paridhi, co-founder of MBA and Beyond, joined here by Shantanu, founder of MBA and Beyond, also an INSEAD alum 2017 batch. Without losing much time, we are going to quickly jump on to talking about the essays. But before that, could you help us understand in the chat which round and which schools between Tuck, Stern, and Yale are you targeting, so we know which one to prioritize first? Meanwhile, Shantanu, do you have anything as we are waiting for a few more people to join for maybe a minute or two?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I would say R2 is around the corner, and if you guys are really looking forward to apply this year, then this is a chance, right? I don't know how closely are you guys following the US news. Interesting things happening, really interesting things happening. First time in the second term, somehow things have started to change. But yeah, let's see how it goes.
Got it. All right, Shantanu. So we've got two answers. Shashank and Valentine are targeting Stern. Fernanda just mentioned R2 is joining from Brazil. All right, that must be really early in the morning over there. But yes, we are going to get started without much further ado. So I'm just posting the questions over here for all of us to read through. We are going to stick to the, we can start with Stern first, as we see most of you are targeting Stern, and then followed by Tuck and Yale. As we are going through the session, we'll of course try to keep 20 minutes for each essay, but of course it can go overboard a little bit. If you guys have any questions pertaining to that specific essay, then feel free to drop them here or raise your hands. If you have any other question which does not relate to any of these three schools and the essays that we are talking about, please park your questions for later. And you can drop them here if you have questions. Definitely we'll take them up towards the end of the session. So I think, Shantanu, let's begin with essay 1 for NYU Stern, which is personal expression pick 6. What does that mean? Introduce yourself to admissions committee and your future classmates using 6 images and captions. Over to you, Shantanu.
Yeah, pretty interesting question, guys. The first question is about the change that you gotta add a term to it. And first of all, right over there, we would ask you to add multiple changes that you have sort of advocated for, and what is that one change that you would also like to, do it at Stern. So obviously you're going to eat up a lot of content over there, and then we'll see what is left, right? And what is left, and also this is your chance through the image one. This is a chance to be a little more candid. Like the change one is a serious question, right? There's no point of being quirky over there. That is actually a serious question that they're talking about. But I think this is where you can actually showcase a very different side of yours. And here, because we are given we're given 6 pictures. So what we really try to do is we try to show different dimensions of who you are as a person. Obviously, we also would like to include sorry, guys. Obviously, we would also like to include academics if there's any, right? And we would also like to include your EC. Any other interesting fact. For example, there's an applicant who had written a book. There's an applicant. I don't have the of that applicant handy, but there's this thing called in painting where you just get a centerpiece, and basis the centerpiece, you paint. And the applicant had won awards over there, in that particular thing. I forgot the name, the specific name of this particular art form. Also, there actually have been instances where applicants got like a beautiful note from their team members, and the note actually talked about how this guy, the applicant, as the I think product manager, had helped his teammates unblock or even tried to get to the level of what is the motivation of each and every team member, how do they want to really improve themselves. Like all of this stuff is written by his team in a note, and then we had pasted that as an image, right? um, but okay, the example that I have now at the moment, instead of me just meandering and then throwing from multiple places, the example that I have with me at the moment for this is academics. I mean, if let's say if you had like a 9.5 CGPA or a 9 CGPA, you had won an award for it, right? Or you have been, let's say, the first person in your community um, um, earning like a STEM degree, right? Yeah, that's sort of an image, a photograph that you can showcase. Um, Apart from that, I would say I have an applicant who had also won. So this applicant was the topper of her branch in the history of the university, and there was a specific medal for it, which only very few people have. She had that, so we had displayed that. And then the applicant also for the summer internship during undergrad went to London, went to UCL, and we also had a photograph where the applicant is standing in front of that famous UCL building. We got like pillars over there, right? I think all of you would know. Um, so yeah, we actually had a photograph. And then this applicant was also from oil and gas, and we had actually shown a photograph where applicant was on shore um, at the rig side and wearing the protective gear, right, with the helmet on and all that stuff. Yeah, one photograph over there. And by the way, for the change thing, we also had talked about a story, an anecdote where the applicant talks about the chicken and egg problem, where they say that there are not enough females there at the rig. Um, because yeah, the chicken and egg problem is that the environment is not conducive for females because there are less females, and the other side is that the females are less because the environment is not conducive. So then how and then she also said that when I went over there, I realized that the PPE kits that we had, they were not designed for women. The boots that they had were not designed for women. They were actually no separate toilets for women. So yeah, because we had talked about the story in the change essay. So this photograph, this image, it just hit the spot. It was also proof of what we were saying in the other essay. Um, yeah, and then a crazy thing, the applicant also plays guitar, and we had taken a photograph where the applicant was playing guitar in one of the festivals that happened in the applicant's college during undergrad, and the applicant is with the entire band, and she's playing guitar. So yeah, that another side of yours, and obviously NYU doesn't give you enough words to explain, and that's why pictures are super important, because a picture can actually paint, can actually tell more about than you just have like 100 words. So yeah, that was one of the things, and then another thing that one thing that we take care of here is contribution. I mean, you would see how almost all the USB schools I would really like to see how have you contributed until now, and how are you also going to contribute towards the learning community, right? So we would really like to show a proof that um, when you had the opportunity, you grabbed it, and you are the person who is not just here to take from. I mean, when you're in B school, you're also there to give back, right? So we had shown like a photograph of community service where this applicant, wait, let me just quickly see what this was about. Yeah, mentoring students, and especially young girls, but not leaving the young boys behind as well. There were more girls, um, about the future, because the applicant is already working on reg, like really making tons of money, so had been telling people that what can they really do in their lives, how can they navigate, and the questions that they have. And then what we did was we shared a photograph of where the applicant is on Zoom, and there are a bunch of young kids over there who have doubts. And yeah, she actually had been clarifying, and it's not just one session that she did. We're also written in the resume. By the way, this all of this is backed up to resume. So yeah, and then the last one that we had over here was yeah, it's like we mentioned the term crazy, by the way, over here, where we say a crazy 20-day long train journey. Um, Applicant was on the train for 20 days, just going from one place to another, staying the night over, then catching the train again, and was just looking at the world through train, while being on train. So yeah, this was again very different side of the applicant, and this was not even there on the resume. So we included something which even resume doesn't have. So I think that is what made it pretty interesting, unique, and I mean all these things are pretty unique about the applicants, guys. Um, so yeah, don't try to add in like a generic thing over there. And like I said, I remember one of the applicants wrote a book, and we had put up a photograph of the hardcover, and the screenshot of the Amazon and Goodreads page where it was rated, and on Amazon you could also see, right, like how many of it was sold, and then there were reviews as well. So yeah, that's pretty much about it.
Okay, thanks, Shantanu. So I've just documented the dimensions that we just touched upon. Academics could be one in different ways. GPA awards, summarizing for everyone to read. It could be extracurriculars, any kind of hobbies, for example, guitar or any kind of instrument you play or you do something else, running a marathon and all that definitely could go into that. Unique things about you if you've written books, certain kind of art that you create, pottery, etc. That can also go in there. If there's some international exposure where you've gone on a student exchange or work wise on site on secondment or something, you can talk about that. Changes that you've brought in at work where you've questioned the status quo. That's, for example, that we just talked about for one of the candidates. On the rig, you could talk about that. Any kind of leadership or influential opportunity that you've gotten and you've got pictures of that, you could talk about that. Changes contribution that you've done to a certain community, mentoring, helping, volunteering, those could also go in there. So in addition to this, I mean, if anybody has any questions apart from the dimensions that, this is like Shantanu said, this is your opportunity to be candid. So try to cover things that you've not covered in the other change essay and your resume. So if you've got any questions around here, feel free to ask. Otherwise, we're going to move on to Tuck after this. Okay. Does international MUN count in the fourth point? Of course, Aditya, it should. Shantanu, do you have any 2 cents on that? Yeah, of course it counts if you've got pictures of that.
Absolutely, it counts. Honestly, until now, I haven't put it in the Stern essay, but this year we did it. We had put it in the Booth essay. By the way, Booth also brought in like 4 images. You got to choose one and write about it. So yeah, we talked about international immune. So you can.
Thanks, Shantanu. Any more questions around this? All right. I think it's time to move on to
And
Tuck.
there was actually another applicant where I like I said, right? Like I keep on remembering different applicants, and then different points come in. So there was this applicant. She was Brazilian, and we are showing tap, ballet, and contemporary dance, and at Broadway Dance Center, New York. And we have a photograph that we put up over there. So yeah, like these are the sort of interesting things um, applicants have. Yeah, Paridhi, over to you.
All right. Thanks, Shantanu. We are going to so I think that will get what you're talking about will get covered in the dimension of unique things about you. It could be art, books, awards. So yeah, one of the dimensions is that. All right, let's move on to Tuck's question. Very interesting one. Again, like there are very few questions that get you so moved to think about and ask your own self about your empathy question. I think these are one of those. This is one of those questions. Like, how can we really talk about it in our application? Let's hear if Shantanu has some stories to share. So, describe a time when you meaningfully invested in someone else's success without immediate benefit to yourself. What motivated you and what was the impact?
Yeah, I mean, so I still remember there's an applicant when when we were working, and the applicant was like, "That someone is me, that someone is me who needs help." Um, you know, um, but I would really like before sharing over here, like I don't know how many of you are doing tuck. If anyone is doing tuck, can you guys raise your hands?
Oh yes, okay. There's one person. Otherwise, I was gonna ask. Maybe let's skip the essay question. All right. So we've got Aditya here, Shantanu, who's doing that.
Right.
Oh.
Ooh, how many schools you're applying to? Okay.
Aditya, go on.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah. So this is again pretty interesting question if you held someone else, right? Um, Again, contribution, right? There's nothing but contribution, which all the B schools are looking for. And one thing that we do is in our content gathering, we do look for how much contributions have you had, and obviously we also help decorate, you know, the contributions as well. The decoration is important. Um, One of the applicants had two options, and and both of them were brilliant, like literally brilliant. Um, but until this particular anecdote that when it popped up to me, and I'm going to be really honest over here, guys. Like I have until now heard that people helping underprivileged children, or you're helping in the blood donation camps, or you're helping in tree plantation drive, right? Honestly, this has become very common, or food, right? Um, Helping food for the needy, or during COVID you did some activity and you thought, I'm just going to continue, you know um, which is food, by the way, or let's say blanket donation drive, right? All this stuff had become extremely common, like over the time when I'm doing applications, like almost everyone has the same thing, right? Until this particular thing popped up, and I was not sure if we should use it, right? And it was about this applicant helping divorced women. And we were talking about, and so we were discussing together, and then we were really thinking, um, should we use it or not? You know, and then and then like both of us jokingly mentioned that probably in the entire application it might hit someone who had gone through the experience, so that person might be able to understand it better or might know someone who had gone through this particular experience, right? And then both of us became quite serious about this, and yeah, and then we wrote about this, and there's actually this beautiful line which we came up with. Again, guys, I'm not going to read out the entire essay, um, right? I'm just gonna read out that important line. And by the way, the applicant is not diverse. That was another thing that we actually had to convey. Now, when I'm reading it, that was another thing we had to convey. And here we are talking about that how, yeah. So there is actually this um, pressure to appear settled can somehow outweigh your emotional safety, right? And sometimes, um, and then how people, when they are going through this particular phase, also cut them away from the society, and they don't feel belong, right? Um, and the applicant started this because of one of the cousins of applicants faced this particular thing. We also mentioned that, and then talked about that how the applicant created a support group, you know, and yeah, there are multiple support groups, right? But what is special about this one? And here, the special about this one was that particular feeling where what they really ask you to do is not to cut off from the world. You stay in there, okay. It's understandable that you want to reduce the circle in which you are, but just don't close it down completely. And then applicant helped here applicant helped cousin, and then by the time we were writing essays, they were, I think, 12, 13. So started off with women, but then they were both genders over there, right? So yeah, this was a story about, and the impact. I understand. So see, the essay very specifically asks for impact, and I understand if you guys are if you guys are looking to shortlist stories, you probably might be looking for some impact where you impact like 1,000 people, 100 people, right? And over here we assess 12. So a lot of times, one of the biggest mistakes that applicants make is not talking about a story where they feel that they impact like 10, 12. Honestly, guys, I mean, if you have even impacted one person in your life positively, that anecdote qualifies over here. Um, I've had other applicants where they've talked about um, helping young entrepreneurs from tier three cities, helping them making the first sale, and just be with them, helping them make the first sale. And once they have made the first sale, then just monitoring over video call for the first 10 sales, and then they are on their own. you know and then the applicant said, just through example of one person, that this guy, so business picked up, and then talks about that how when this particular person came up, that person wrote like a huge thank you note, and how it was huge for the applicant, right? uh, to just help that guy. So yeah, this story also works.
Thanks, Shantanu. All right. So just summarizing this that Shantanu said, again, it's a contribution to the community thing. Big or small, with respect to numbers does not matter, because some of us do ask that question. And yeah, I get that asked multiple times. So I often answer all the candidates, look at these kind of questions as an opportunity to talk about your value and meaning in your life, because through that contribution, you're probably translating into what matters to you most. Again, what Stanford also asked, and that is the value that is going to become the theme of your application. So these kind of questions, I feel, Shantanu, they can be really theme driving instead of focusing on the numbers. Some of us could have impacted 1,000 people, while we could have only impacted 20, or I could just be impacting one person right now. As a way of living your life is contribution to the community, or being, helpful in somebody else's life, is that a value that you live by? You could have even one example. So I was just, as we were going through this, and I was thinking about, dude, what am I doing these days to really give back to the community? And to be honest, like, I'm barely doing anything. And there's only one little thing that I do for my house help. If I had to ever do an MBA application right now, of course, this is not for MBA application, but I'm helping her make these cooking videos and like really put them on Instagram and help her understand, like, what does it mean with the hashtags and the translations of the recipes and whatnot. And I'm trying to do it in a language which I don't absolutely understand. It's in Odisha, like this language in Odia. And so it could be like, one thing, two things, whatever. It's a way for you to express your value, that why are you doing it? I hope you're not doing it for the application, because that's not what's going to get you in. At least make it look like that you're not making it happen for the application, guys. So anything, numbers don't matter. Think about the values and the meaning and drive that you have. Maybe you care about a certain cause, and you've time and again gotten back to solving for that cause. If it's, let's say, like Shantu said, separation, divorce, women empowerment, it could be LGBTQIA, if you're an ally, if you belong to the community, talk about all that. This is your opportunity to really outshine with your values and really make the theme of your application based on your values. All right.
Indeed.
Any questions for the essay at TUCK? Yes, please, Kaustubh, go over.
Hi, thanks, Paridhi, for letting me speak. So, I have a question about this particular prompt. That if we have to talk about the social contribution that we have to make, or so to say, the community contribution. So, there is a club that I just started recently regarding sustainability. So, what I have done, I have gathered some of the college students, and I'm just passing on the information and practices and the research work that I have done regarding sustainability. And I also try to encourage them to do such work, whether it be some social activities or anything academic regarding to that. So, does this all count in this question, or is it relevant for this question?
Right. So, cost of anything where you have done something where, because see, if you read the question, it says someone else's success without immediate benefit to yourself. So if
So
it
it
is
won't
there,
count.
sorry, what?
So it won't count.
It
No,
would.
no. What I'm saying is it will. I mean, all you gotta do is so you gotta mold it in this direction.
Yeah, and
That
like I said,
it,
Kaustubh, don't make it look like the immediate benefit you're getting out of it is the MBA admit. So make sure that the dots are connected.
yeah.
Okay,
Let me
okay.
let me actually throw a similar example, Costa. I worked with an applicant, I think last year or a year before that. What this guy did was sort of similar. So what he would do is he gathered a bunch of problems people are facing in villages, you know. And then this guy had a robotic startup or something like that, where I mean, this guy was a pro in creating robots. And he created a bot. So one of the problems for the villagers was that how do they pick coconuts, like who is going to climb up so high and going to pick coconuts. So this guy with robotics, and this was designed, by the way, by the kids in the village, and he was also working on this sustainability project. And this particular thing doesn't benefit him, but it benefits the entire community over there. So the robot would go up, and it's going to tap on the coconut, and the coconut is going to fall down.
Interesting.
Yeah, that makes sense. I now got to know like what exactly they want.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kaustubh. That's thanks, Shantanu. Yeah, Minhal, please go ahead.
Hello, Minhal.
Just
Hi, can you hear me?
yes, go on.
Okay, hey, how are you? I hope you guys are doing well. My question again is with this prompt only because I've been basically struggling with the, like the social responsibility question quite a few times. I do a very hardcore corporate job, but also I have like a social startup that employs women and connects the rural women to the urban area ladies. And the skilled workers that have no like have no network, but they know the art. So that's what I do. So right now I have 10 people, but the thing is that I don't know to what extent in this prompt especially I can weave in a way that doesn't look that I'm being cocky or I'm like and because it is like value to some other without having any value of your own. So with the money that I get from as a profit, I basically help the people buy raw materials. So I don't keep any penny of profit. But I just don't want to sound very cocky in this essay. So if you can, like suggest me how to, knead this well.
Yeah, I mean, Minal, it's a very difficult thing to answer over here, right? Yeah, and also that's what we do for bread and butter, you know. So
Sure.
yeah, indeed there are ways, and I think what you're really looking for is the tone in which you should talk, right? And is it really notched up? Like when you're saying cocky, right? I mean, should you notch it down, or
Yeah.
do you still have space to notch it up, right? Is it really showing the impact, right? Or am I overdoing to show the impact, right?
Yeah.
I guess that is what
100%.
your question is, right?
Yes.
And yeah, like unless I read it, unless I get the story, it's very difficult to answer like this.
But what do
Um,
you suggest? I would just want to know that. Like, what do you
I've
suggest?
any
Like
story can be
generally.
spun in this direction.
But if it's such
Any
a
social
heavy
response.
social story, then how can you, like not make it really cocky, etc.? That's just a question. You can just generalize it if you don't want to specify it.
Yeah, I think best way to go about it is just to see how people who have been successful, how much cocky have they been, you know when you go through and you see that how much what sort of like how many notches were there up as per you because see the definition of being cocky is also pretty subjective, right? You might have different one, someone else would have a different one, right? But overall I would say you guys gotta brag modestly, you know um that's the irony. I mean, you are the only source of information for whatever you're providing up, apart from your referees, right? So if you're not going to
Yep.
brag,
Yeah.
right, then also it's not helpful. And if you're just being cocky, like you said, right? I mean that sweet spot. I understand, Minal, what you're talking about, but I think that would come through experience, or I think by
By
reading different
getting,
samples.
yeah, makes sense.
Yeah,
Thank you. Makes sense.
nice.
Yeah. So just to give all of you some context here and also Minhal for you. So when Shantanu is saying that you have to read, you have to benchmark your application against, the most braggy ones versus against the most humble ones. And then you'd be somewhere in between. So you'd have to balance yourself out and see the direction and the tone that you want to take. So it has to be also in coherence with the overall tone of your application. Yeah, so that's something that you do. And then just something that Shantanu has been, of course, asking a lot of our team members to read upon is also on standard deviation. So not, and that's the interesting aspect that I feel, when it comes to essays is, you cannot of course say that, okay, it's this is the line and then something better than this is going to get in and something below this is going to get in. There's always going to be a bell curve, and this only happens when you reference it against multiple applications that have gotten in, and then you'll be able to see which part of the bell curve do you really belong to. Do you want to go more towards the braggy side or more towards this side? But all sides work in some way or the other. The way you communicate matters.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, Preeti.
Welcome.
Yeah.
All right.
So, I mean, I would also like to add to it for everyone. I mean, what we are really trying to do is we are breaking up application into different pieces, into different data points, and then plotting it on a graph. Um, and calculating the z-score, which is how much on the right hand side and how much on the left hand side are you away from the mean in terms of the standard deviation of the data set. And then probably we can, I think Paridi, we should also add something for cockiness,
Yeah,
yeah,
that idea.
I mean, that's another dimension that we have. So hopefully in future the tool would be able to tell that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really amazing that you guys are using AI, by the way. That's really ahead.
Yeah,
And
not to write for sure, but yeah, to analyze like
yeah.
where does it.
Yeah, because people like the students I'm interacting, not the students, like people applying from Pakistan, we all have this one question all the time, like, do we appear really braggy? Do we appear really cocky? Or do we appear really humble or not confident at all? Especially, you remember the last session that I attended of you guys, I asked a question about the MBA goals to be flexible, right? That's the wave that is going right now. We just want to act, like we don't want to be vague, but we also want to give more than one flexible options, because at the end of the day, the school has to publish a class profile and they want to make sure that we all are employed, right? So that's something that is going, I think, in my landscape in Pakistan.
Yeah, we understand that, Minhal. You'll get there. You're a very strong candidate from what, of course, your profile speaks for it. Just do the application right and you will make it through. All right, I think we can move on to Yale's question. Meanwhile, I know there's another question. Aditya will take it up after the essay question because, yeah, it's generic. So let's touch upon the last question, Shantanu. Describe the most significant challenge you have faced. How have you confronted this challenge and how has it shaped you as a person?
Yeah, this question is so it's a pretty common question you also have like in Kellogg, right? Asking about sort of a difficult decision you're making. Similar question is an INSEAD where they're asking about what is it? It's pretty similar, I'm not able to recall the exact question. Um, but yeah, I mean, a problem that you got to describe. Um, so yeah, guys, significant challenge. I mean, all of you would have faced like a lot of challenges, and there are going to be more challenges than successes, obviously, right? I mean, there'll be more successes than challenges, and you all wouldn't be sitting over here and listening for how to build a B-school application, right? Would have been hiring MBA grants by now. So pick the one where I'd say you have a profound insight to showcase. There's an applicant. Actually, no, I don't want to share this because we're actively working. But yeah, I mean, there's this applicant where the applicant was from the marketing background. Probably I would have shared this earlier as well. From the marketing background, and comes up with a brilliant idea, and then is handling like a multi-million-dollar campaign. Um, Money has been invested, ad has gone, everything has happened, and now the ad is supposed to go live in 2 days, and then the applicant decided that, hey, how about I go and also just try to connect with the regional audience to see, what's the feedback. Yeah, the applicant was late in getting feedback, and at that very moment, the applicant realized that that the main reference which they are trying to tell the story, right, is being understood in this particular part of the country properly, right? And an applicant was also from this particular part of the country, was not understood in the other part of the country. The cultural difference. And though they translated everything word by word, right? But if you don't recognize, let's say, a certain character of a story, where it's not being told um, in your region, right? Your region for the same thing has a different storyline, right? So obviously it's gonna fall flat. And then we are talking about that applicant realized just 2 days before the ad goes live. And ad has already gone to all the media houses and everything, you know. And now applicant is sitting over there, just realized that this is not gonna cut through the mustard. Now what do I do? So then we say over here that I have the option. Either I stay quiet, right? Or I bring it up to my manager. And obviously, guys, there's a B school application, right? So we decided to bring it up, right, to the manager. Else we wouldn't have shortlisted the story, right? Yeah. So yeah, went to the manager, and then that's how the confrontation. That's how the applicant confronted the challenge. And then the way it has shaped the applicant is ownership, and also it really influenced the applicant's relationship with others, with managers, and also with peers, with subordinates as well. That the value of that, how important is integrity, you know. Though the ad at that moment fell flat, but then the applicant made sure that now in the company, I mean, the applicant, I mean, we turned it in a very different way as well. We said inclusivity, we brought in the angle of inclusivity over here, right? That now how all the marketing campaigns go through an inclusivity check. And that's how it has shaped this particular person also, right? So yeah, I hope I have explained this particular essay.
Yeah, and did the team or the marketing team for future follow the inclusivity check for all the campaigns that go through? Then it'll be
At
impactful.
least
Yeah.
this is what we have written in the essay.
Yes, okay. All right, that's good to know. And I'm glad that the manager is vouching for it as well. So yeah, it is going to go in the recommendation too.
Yeah, it also, we also validated it through LOR.
LOR, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so that's a good example. Anybody has any questions around it? Because this is of course, this is a professional example, and you could definitely have a personal example as well. Yes, Medhan, please go on.
Okay, so my question again, love the thought process, obviously. But my question is that your last statement where you said that it was backed up by the LOR. So basically, this is something like I've heard from a lot of people, is that mainly the question that revolve around the workplace, they need to be very coherent with the letter of recommendations as well. So what is it like true? Do you guys do that? What's the success rate, etc.? Tell.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
We can talk about it.
yeah, we do that. We do that. Actually, what we do is we first of all calculate how many beds are we placing over here, in this particular school. And obviously, like, I don't want to validate all of them, and it's going to look it's cooked up, right? The LOR is cooked up, right? Or the essay is cooked up. Sweet balance again, Minhal. How do I understand it's again about the balance, right? But we try to see where are we placing the biggest bet, in terms of, because eventually see what do we need, like what are essays doing? Essays are meaningless if we are not able to explain your overall narrative, right? And obviously we have words constraint over here, right? I mean, it's going to be, you can't just provide immediate proof for each and everything that you're saying, right? You're going to provide proof for some, and then you're going to provide supporting evidence, but it might not be that convincing, right? But eventually what we really want to do is we want to convince the adcom that whatever we are saying we'll be able to achieve, right? The goals, and here are my credentials, and this is what we're trying to say through essays, right? So over there we carefully pick things which, as per the story, which is eventually going to make the narrative look stronger, and makes it stronger, not just look stronger, makes the narrative stronger. So it depends from person to person, like what bets have you placed, Minal?
All right. Any more questions? Aditya had a question, but he's dropped off. He had to go somewhere.
Okay. What was the question though?
I don't know if it's
Which
relevant.
school has more brand value and strategy leadership role? I mean, it's an MBA. All the
Yeah.
schools, yeah, that's what the MBA is about: leadership and strategy. All the schools.
Yeah. Any more questions, guys, for any of the essays that we've discussed? If none, then we're good. You can ask
Yeah.
any questions that you have. We have 1 month, 10, 15 days to some of the deadlines. So all the best to everyone on that. I hope you're hustling, writing, getting your supporting evidence in place, getting your essays reviewed in time by multiple people, not just one, and hope you make it through this year in round 2.
Cheers, everyone. All the best.
All the best.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
guys. That's really helpful. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.